Greetings, saints. I'm your host, Rahim Allen from the Bible Genesis of Truth Ministries. And I'm here to do a very important video as per usual. Yes, you heard it, saints. A very important video. We're going to look at something that has just transpired in our world, especially in America. But before I prolong, let us bow our heads for a word of prayer. Loving Father, as we come here to do this session, we ask for your presence at this time. Please be with those who are watching. Let them see the urgency of the time. Let them not see this as a walkover, but rather a sign that we are one day closer, one moment closer to your second coming. Help us, dear Lord, to get ready and stay ready, is my prayer. And remove every distraction, is my prayer. In Christ's name, amen. What is now trending? There has been a new pope, and the thing about this Pope is that this Pope is the first American Pope. Now, that is very startling, friends, because never before in history has there ever been an American Pope. And by God's grace, I'm going to show you, saints, what does this mean for us as God's people. We're going to analyze history and compare history with the present time. Because as the wise man says, there's nothing new under the sun. So by God's grace, we're going to dive down and to see what is so synonymous, what is so solemn about this new Pope. Now, I want to say these things that the end times and the current events and the second coming of Christ is not bent upon the Pope or America. Let me repeat that. The end time events is not based upon the Pope or America or a Sunday law. It is not based on that. It is based upon God's getting his people ready. Since we read about in early writings that Christ wanted to allow a son-in-law to come in 1888, but because the church was not ready, God forbade the son-in-law to come. What can we learn from that? In order for America to pass that national son-in-law, God must first have a people ready to stand to give the loud cry of the third angels. But while the majority of us as God's people are still sleeping, while the majority of us are still eating things, dressing certain way, while the majority of us are not setting our houses in order, God cannot allow this crisis to break upon us because his church is unprepared. I want to read this quotation. It says, I saw that the remnant were not prepared for what is coming upon the earth. Notice, saying she did not say Babylon or the Roman Catholic system or America, that America is not ready. It says that the remnant is not ready. It says, stupidity like lethargy seem to hang upon the minds of most of those who profess to believe that we are having the last message. My accompanying angel cried out with awful solemnity, get ready, get ready, get ready, for the fierce anger of the Lord is soon to come. His wrath is to be poured out with unmixed without mercy, and ye are not ready. Rend your heart and not your garment. I want to show us a picture of the current condition of our churches right now. Look at this picture. We're seeing a thief in black. This thief means the Sunday law. We're seeing the woman asleep, and a woman in prophecy means a church. Now that is the SDA church. That is us today. We are asleep while Satan is gaining grounds. We are asleep in the last moments of this world's history. We are fast asleep, as were the disciples just before Christ went in Gethsemane. That is us today, saints, and we need to awake. I believe, saints, that what is now going on is some of the last wake up calls for the Seventh Day Adventist Church to get ready. Said my accompanying angel, get ready, for the fierce anger of the Lord is soon to come, and ye are unprepared. Rend your heart and not your garment. Jesus wants our hearts and not our garment. Now, as we're about to dive down into this prophetic update inside, I want to show us something on our screen. We're seeing on your right Pope Leo the 14th, who is the new Pope, and on your left Pope Leo the 13th. Now we're going to look at these two popes, especially Pope Leo the 13th, and to see what is synonymous, what is a connecting link with Pope Leo the 13th and Pope Leo the 14th. Because since in the Bible, name is synonymous with character. Now look at on the screen. It says Pope Leo the 14th live update. Pope Leo makes history as the first American pontiff. Now saints, this is very startling in nature because this is the first in history there has been an American pope. And what makes this significant is that America will play a large role in the winding down of this world's history. Revelation 13, verse 11 to 12 and 13 mentions that America, that earth beast, will one day speak as a dragon. And we're seeing that the Pope, the man of sin, is now from the very country which will fulfill that very statement. What does this mean? Time is almost finished, since time is almost finished. We are reminded, since in volume 6 of the testimonies, page 60, that the perils of the last days are upon us. And in our work, it is our duty to warn the people the danger they are in. Let not the solemn scenes which prophecy has foretold be left untouched. If our people were half awake, if they knew the nearness of the revelation portrayed in the prophecies, a mighty reformation would take place, and many more would have believed the message. So, saints, only if we knew what these connecting links mean, only if we knew, we are told a mighty reformation will take place in our lives. Now, who congratulated Pope Leo the 14th? It says, Trump congratulates Pope Leo the 14th, a great honor for our country. Saints, we do understand what does this mean. So Trump is congratulating, Trump who's a Protestant by the way, is congratulating the papacy, Pope Leo the 14th, for winning, for being chosen to be Pope as an American. We don't understand what this means, saints. We don't understand. I want to show you by God's grace. And by the way, saints, we are going to examine what had transpired in 1888. We are going to look at that scenario and to see who was a pope then, and also who was the president, the Speaker of the House, and also the Senate at that time. Because nothing is new under the sun. Again, it says, Trump congratulates new American Pope Leo the 14th. What a great honor for our country. Now, I want to know which party is Leo a part of? Is he a part of the elephant or the donkey party? It says Pope Leo the 14th was an active Republican primary voter and voted in 2024 presidential election. So he clearly was and is a Republican. Now look at this now. My question is now, saints, which university did Pope Leo the 14th attended? It says, first Augustinian friar to be elected pontiff. It says, in addition to being the first pope from the United States, Leo is the first Augustinian friar to be elected pontiff. He graduated from the Villanova University, one of the only two Augustinian Catholic university in the nations in 1977. So our senior says that this pope attended a Catholic university, which is a Jesuit university. Since the animals are now walking into the ark, the animals, I am seeing the rumbling of the bell. It says Cardinal Robert Purvis becomes the first American pope, choosing the name Leo the 14th. Now, my question is, saints, why did Pope Leo the 14th chose the name Leo? Why? I wonder why. Why would he choose? Because name is synonymous with character. Satan has infiltrated, has counterfeited God's word. God's name is synonymous with his character. I don't have any time to prove that. No, my question is now, why would he choose Leo? So we're going to look at who was Leo. Look at a pope that was called also Leo. And we're going to see, saints, what time was this pope reigning? Leo the 13th, born March 2, 1810, carpenter, Romano, papal state, died July 20, 1903, Rome, was the head of the Roman Catholic Church between 1878 through to 1903, who brought a new spirit to the papacy, expressed in more conciliatory position towards civil government, by less opposition to scientific progress, and by any awareness of the pastoral and social needs of the times. So this man brought a new spirit to the papacy. Now look on the right of a screen above. It says Pope Leo the 13th was in 1888. He reigned as Pope from 1878 to 1903 and encompassing the year 1888. In 1888, he was 78 years old. So we are seeing right here, saints, that Pope Leo the 13th was around in 1888. And question, saints, what was going on in 1888? This is a Sunday law bill by Senator Blair. When was this bill around? It says the National Sunday Law. It says first Sunday proposal by Senator Blair in 1888. So there was a Sunday law brewing in 1888. Again, it says what? So we see that it was first pushed in May the 21 of 1888. And question, what month are we in? Just asking. December 9, 1888, Senator Blair of New Hampshire reintroduced his bill for a national Sunday law. Saints, what does this mean? The Pope, Leo the 13th, was the Pope in 1888. And now we're seeing a Pope in 2025, which is a very interesting year to say the least. Because we are told that history will be repeated. False religion will be exalted the first day of the week. So we're seeing that history will be repeated. As Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9 says, whatever had been will be, and there is nothing new under the sun. We're also reminded in Darkness Before Dawn, page 38, that we have a prophetic chart pointing out every waymark on our everward journey, and we are to gaze at nothing. So we have a prophetic chart pointing out every waymark, so we are to gaze at nothing. So God has given us a waymark, a chart to see where we are in the procession of time. And as we are looking at times past, we're seeing that the Pope then was Leo, Pope Leo, and the Pope today is also Pope Leo. What was also Pope Leo? What was he pushing? Look at this article. This is called Rerum Novarum. This is a Sunday law that was written by the man himself, Leo the 13th. This was written by him. And my question is, did on this document, did it have on Sunday rest laws? It says, yes, Sunday rest is mentioned in Pope Leo the 13th encyclical Rerum Novarum. It says the encyclical the importance of Sabbath observance, including Sunday rest, as a time for worship, rest, and spiritual renewal. And remember, saints, as the article says, that he brought a new spirit to the papacy. I will see the same thing on this article, that is a spiritual revival. Now, before I get into Protestantism and popery uniting, I want to show you a video, saints, that this Catholic bishop predicts that one day the whole world will become Catholic. Look at this video.
We're in the end times battle, but we don't believe it's the end of the world. If you read the saints carefully, they say it's not the end of the world, it's the end of this era. Something new is coming. The greatest triumph of the church in all of world history is coming, when the whole world will become Catholic, the entire world.
So the man says we are in the end times and that the whole world will become Catholic. No question, is this Bible? Yes, this is Bible. This is Revelation 13 verses 3, which says, and I saw one of his head as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And what happened after? And all the world wandered after the beast. So we are seeing that all the world will wander after the first beast, which is the papacy, the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church. And this man is saying that the whole world will one day become Catholic. Since this is very startling, because this is Revelation 13. This is, and he is right. Only those saints in these last days that get the seal won't become a Catholic. It says, by decree enforcing the institution of the papacy in violation of the law of God, our nation will disconnect herself fully from righteousness when Protestantism shall stretch forth her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power. When she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hand with spiritualism, when under the influence of this threefold union, our country shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as what? A Protestant and Republican government, and shall make provision for the propagation of papal falsehoods and delusions. Then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan and that the end is near. So we're seeing right here that republicanism, Protestantism, and the papacy will unite. No question, are we seeing this being fulfilled today in our world? Yes. The Pope Leo, who is a Protestant because he's in America, which is a Protestant country, and he's also a Republican. We'll show you the, on the article before. And he's also the head of the Roman Catholic Church, which is the papacy. So we're seeing already this threefold union being united, being enacted, being formed in America. So, saints, we are seeing now that Satan is now ready to break, to plunge the world into the last trouble of this world's history. Satan is ready. The Pope is ready. The President of America is ready. But guess who is not ready? God's people. We are not ready. And it says, and inspiration says, get ready, get ready, get ready. We need to get ready, saints. We need to get ready. We need to get ready because, saints, time is almost finished. In December of 1888, Senator Blair reintroduced a bill for a national Sunday law. December. I don't know if the Sunday law is coming in this month or December to come. I don't know. But one thing is for sure is that this generation is the last and final generation. And my question is, saints, what was the bill called in 1888 by Senator Blair? It was called what? The American Sentinel. Remember, history will be repeated. Does America have a bill today that is similar? Yes. What is called? Project 2025. It says that Congress should encourage communal rest by amending the fair labor standard. It says that to require workers to be paid an half hours working on the Sabbath, that they would default on a Sunday. So we're seeing right here that America has their sentinel today in 2025, and that is called Project 2025. Everything is connecting, saints. Everything is connecting. Look at this quotation. As the approach of the Roman armies was assigned to the disciples of the impending destruction of Jerusalem, so may this apostasy be a sign to us that the limit of God's forbearance is reached, and that the measure of our nation iniquity is full, and that the angel of mercy is about to take our flight, never to return. And we are reminded, saints, in Maranatha, page 216, we are reminded, saints, that the people of the United States have been favored people, but when they restrict religious liberty, surrender Protestantism, and give countenances to popery, the measure of their guilt will be full, and national apostasy will be registered in the books of heaven. The result of this apostasy will be national ruin. So, according to this quotation, national apostasy will be followed by national ruin. And are we seeing this today? Yes, America is in apostasy right now. We can know that God is about to pour out His Spirit. Again, as we're seeing the two popes, Pope Leo the 13th and Pope Leo the 14th, it is not coincidence that this man has chosen that name and that he's the 14th. Because look at these saints. What comes after 13? 14. That means that Pope Leo the 13th did not accomplish his work in 1888. Therefore, in 2025, Pope Leo the 14th is now come, I would say, as a Titus to fully, surround Jerusalem, surround God's people, to destroy, to overthrow God's people. Pope Leo the 13th was like a Cestius in 1866, but in 1870, 3.5 years later, Titus came, Pope Leo the 14th. Now, look at this. Pope Leo the 13th, the first liberal pope who went beyond his authority. So this man went beyond his authority. But even though he was a liberal, which is the donkey party, I want to show us something that this man was willing to unite with the Republican. It says, he urged, let me read from, it says, toasting or at reception of for office for the French Mediterranean Mediterranean war fleet gathered in Algiers in 1890, he urged them to accept the Republican form of government, arguing that the union of all good citizens was France's supreme need and the fresh wish of the church of her pastors. So we're seeing something here that this man was ready to unite with the Republican, even though he was a Democrat. And saints, I want to show you something that Pope Leo the 10th, also Pope Leo the 10th, it was also before even Pope Leo the 13th. Pope Leo the 10th was around in Martin Luther's time, the Protestant reformer, Martin Luther, Pope Leo the 10th. And I want to wonder, saints, what did Pope Leo X did to Martin Luther? It says Pope Leo X excommunicated Martin Luther in 1521. My question is, who was Martin Luther? He was a Protestant. He was a man, a beacon of light for Protestantism. And who excommunicated him? A pope called Pope Leo X. Is this by coincidence, saints? It does not. We're told, are we not told in these last days that Pope want to overthrow Protestantism? According to in 2017, when I forgot his name, when this man came out to say that the protest is now over. Do not, do not. What is it? What is the main goal of popery? The main goal of popery is to overthrow Protestantism. Saints, we are living in some solemn times. And we're told that history will be repeated. Now, as I'm wrapping down on this segment, I want to now look at what had also transpired in 1888. Before I even go there, does anyone know what Leo mean? Leo means a lion. Leo means a lion. Now, question: who was the lion in the Bible? Who? Which kingdom? Babylon. Babylon. And also the prefix of lion, I believe, is leopard. Now, question: who is a leopard like beast of Revelation 13, verse 1 to 2? The papacy. And according to Jeremiah 17, Jeremiah 13, rather, verses 23, a leopard cannot change his spot. So, popery will not change, regardless of what men want to say. Pope will not change. So we're seeing that name and character goes hand in hand. Now I want us to look at this now, saints. Who was the president? Who was the Senate in 1888 when a Sunday law was going on? This is Senator Henry William Blair, senator of New Hampshire. Now he's the one that published the Sunday law bill. Now what party was he a part of? Elected as Republican to the 44th and 45th Congress, Blair served as United States Representative for the state of New Hampshire. So we're seeing that this man was a Republican. He was elected as a Republican. Now, who are now the Senate in America now? It says part Senate, Republican leadership. So we're seeing here that these are all the Senates of America, most of them, of the most states in America. These are our senates, and these are Republicans. And look at this article. These are some of their names. You can maybe look at it or screenshot it in your time. Now, what is the purpose of a senator? The United States Senate is the upper chamber of the United Congress. The Senate at the United States House of Representatives, which is the lower chamber of Congress, comprises federal, bicameral legislature of the United States. Together, the Senate of the House have the authority under Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution to press or defeat federal legislation. It says, in other words, the Senate has exclusive power to confirm U.S. presidential appointments of high office, approve or rejects the treaties, and by seizing impeachment brought by the House. The Senate and the House will provide check and balances of the power of the executive and judicial branches of government. Now, question is since, how does a nation speak? It says, the speaking of the nation is the action of its legislative and judicial authorities. By such action, it will give the lie of those liberal and peaceful principles which it has put forth as the foundation of its policy. So we're seeing here saying that the Senates are not Republicans by chance. They are not, because we're told in Revelation 13, verses 11 and 12, that America will speak as a dragon. How does a nation speak? Through our law, through our legislative and judicial branches of government. So we're seeing that the Congress is now ready. The Senates are Republicans. And is this by coincidence? No, it is not. Also, who was a House Speaker in 1888? Who was a House Speaker? Look at this. It says Speaker of the House, James G. Blaine, 1888. I want to know quick. I want to know which party was Blaine a part of. It says Blaine was one of the late 19th century leading Republican and a champion of the party moderate reformist faction, later known as the half breed. Now, now since this man was in 1888 as a Republican, as a Senate, as the Speaker of the House. Now, question: who currently is the Speaker of the House for America? Who is Mike Johnson? 5 things to know about the new Republican House Speaker. So Mike Johnson is now the Speaker of the House for America. Since I am going through this fast, and since while we're looking at these things, I want to remind us that the final events will be wrapping once. So we've seen that the Speaker of the House, the Senate, they are all were Republicans. Now look at this now, saints. Who was the president in 1888 when a Sunday law was coming? It says President Benjamin Harris, a Republican born. So Benjamin Harris, a Republican born. So this man Benjamin Harris was the president in 1888. And my question is, what was he pushing? And by the way, since I covered these articles way before the election of America last year, just before the election, about these articles right now. I'm going to leave the link in the video below. It says, President Benjamin Harris and prayer. It says, Mr. Harrison wrote to his son, Rochelle caught my eye, and I share it with all you who pray and those who don't. It is a great comfort to trust God, even if His providence is unfavorable. Prayer steadies one when he is walking in slippery places, even if things asked for are not given. So I see that this man was pushing prayer in 1888. Now, who else is now pushing prayer? Make America pray again. Trump reveals he's selling Bibles. So Trump is now pushing make America pray again. Saints, I want to read this quotation. Saints, that we are living in no ordinary times. We are living in the most stupendous times of this world's history. And at this time, saints, I am not afraid to be called a fanatic or extreme. I am not afraid to declare that the end is near and that time is almost finished. I am not afraid. I want to read this quotation as I'm wrapping down. It says, in Maranatha page 172, it says, heretofore, those who present the truth of the third angel's message have often been regarded as mere alarmists. Their predictions that religious intolerance would gain control in the United States, that the church and state would unite to persecute those who keep the commandments of God, have been pronounced groundless and absurd. But as the question of enforcing Sunday observance is widely agitated, the event so long doubted and disbelief is seen to be approaching, and the third angels will produce an effect which it could not have had before. So we're seeing here, saints, that those who are presented the third angel's message that a Sunday law is coming, that America will one day speak as a dragon, that the church and state will unite to persecute God's people. They have been regarded as mere alarmists. But as the question of enforcing Sunday is now being widely agitated. This event, so widely and long disbelief, is now seen to be fulfilled in our time. We are told in volume 8 of Testimonies, page 315, it says that in time is almost finished. Do you reflect the lovely image of Jesus as you should? We need not to say that the pearls of the last days are soon to come. Indeed, they have already begun. Saints, America is about to speak as a dragon. That means that Christ has almost have a group of SDAs that it has almost gotten the victory over sin. Yes, that means saints that we don't have much time left. And soon those are SDAs who are now denying these claims, who are now sleeping, they will arise, they will awake under the falling of the plagues. But I pray, my brethren or sister, this may not be you or me. Since we are told that the final events will be rapid ones. By God's grace, let us be found wanting, because Jesus is coming soon. These events is to awaken us to know Jesus as never before. Maranatha, the Lord is coming soon.